Her name was Elena. She was like many others, a mother, a wife, someone who tried to live a quiet life, keeping her faith somewhere between memory and habit. Every morning she made coffee, kissed her daughter goodbye, and whispered, "God, keep her safe," though she wasn't sure if anyone was listening. Life had been kind, until the day it wasn't. Sometimes tragedy doesn't announce itself. It just enters, silent and merciless. That evening, Elena's phone rang, a single call that split her world in two. Her husband had been in an accident, and within minutes, he was gone. For the first time in years, she prayed, not because she believed, but because she had nothing left. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Psalm 34:18. But at that moment, it didn't feel true. Elena wandered through her house like a ghost, touching objects that no longer had meaning. The world outside kept moving. Cars passed, people laughed, but inside her home, time had stopped. She stopped eating, stopped answering calls, stopped talking to her daughter, the only piece of her heart still breathing. When her daughter asked, "Mom, when is Daddy coming home?" Elena couldn't answer. She just smiled weakly and turned away before the tears came again. At night she'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling, hearing echoes of her husband's laughter replaying like a broken record in her mind. Her faith, once small but alive, had turned to dust. She had prayed for safety, she had begged for mercy, and still death came. Now her prayers were whispers thrown into an empty sky. "If you're real," she whispered one night, "why did you take everything from me?" The words hung in the dark, like smoke, and vanished. Heaven stayed silent, and silence became the loudest sound she knew. Cut to visuals, rain beating against the window, a single lamp flickering, Elena sitting motionless in the dark. The seasons changed, but the grief didn't. Rain came and went. The garden withered. Even the birds outside seemed to have forgotten her house. Elena went back to work, but she wasn't there. Her body moved, her hands typed, her lips smiled when people spoke to her. But her eyes were hollow. Every drive home felt longer than the last. The road stretched endlessly, each mile heavy with memories she couldn't escape. Sometimes she'd catch herself reaching across the passenger seat, forgetting he wasn't there anymore. One evening the storm came early. Heavy rain crashed against the windshield. Her vision blurred. From tears or the storm, she couldn't tell. The wipers fought against the downpour, the headlights cutting through the darkness like knives. And in that fragile moment, between exhaustion and despair, she whispered, "If you don't exist, I'm ready to find out." She pressed her foot slightly harder on the gas. The sound of rain mixed with the pounding of her heart. Then, headlights, blinding, white, unstoppable. When she opened her eyes, everything was white. No pain, no weight, no fear. There was no car, no storm, no sound, only stillness. Perfect, infinite stillness. She looked around. There was no sky, no ground, no horizon, only light, soft, endless and alive. Then she heard it, a voice, not loud, not echoing, but close, as if it came from inside her own soul. "You were not supposed to be here yet." It wasn't angry, it wasn't cold, it was filled with sorrow, like the voice of someone who loved her more than she could understand. She wanted to speak, to ask where she was, to ask if this was heaven. But her lips didn't move. Instead, she felt something deeper than pain, the weight of every choice she had made, every moment she ignored God's whisper, every prayer she abandoned because she thought no one was listening. It all played in her mind like 1,000 fragments of light. Her life laid bare before her. "You are not supposed to be here yet," the voice said again, and in that instant she knew. This wasn't punishment, it was mercy. She felt a warmth spreading through her chest, the kind of peace she hadn't known since childhood. She wanted to stay there forever, but the light began to fade. The peace turned to darkness. The voice grew distant, and then nothing. Elena woke up surrounded by doctors. They said her heart had stopped for 6 minutes. She shouldn't have survived, but she did. And from that day, she was never the same. She didn't talk about what she saw, not yet. Instead, she began searching. Not on the internet, but inside herself. She found her old Bible, covered in dust, pages yellowed. She opened it randomly, and her eyes fell on, "For to me, to live is Christ, and to die is gain." Philippians 1:21. She froze. For the first time, those words meant something. She realized she had been living without life, breathing but not believing. She started to pray again, awkwardly at first. "God, I don't know how to talk to you anymore, but I want to learn." And heaven, that same heaven that had been silent, began to whisper back, not in voices, but in peace. Months passed. Elena began to share her story. Some believed her, others mocked her, but she didn't care. She knew what she had felt: death and grace. One night, while praying for the first time without fear, she heard the same voice again, gentle but clear. "I let you see death so you could understand life." Tears streamed down her face. She finally understood that God had not taken her life. He had restored it. She began helping others who had lost someone. She prayed with them, listened, cried, and through her, many found hope again. Elena realized that death wasn't the end. It was the mirror that revealed eternity. "I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live, even though they die." John 11:25. That verse became her heartbeat. Elena never forgot what she saw. She said the scariest thing about death wasn't the pain, it was the silence. Don't let it fade away. Subscribe to Eppic Biblical, because every week we bring stories that remind the world that even in silence, God still speaks. Your one click helps this message reach thousands who need to hear it. Leave a comment, share your story, and let us know where God found you. Share this video. Someone you love might need this message tonight.